So today I was thinking about the B&M inverts, and I was like, what should I do with this model of coaster? And I thought, maybe a ranking video. But then I just thought, well, I haven't ridden most of them, so that probably wouldn't be fair. So I decided, let's just look back on the history of the B&M invert. That's exactly what we're going to be doing today. Today, we're going to be looking back at the history of the B&M invert from 1992 to 2021. Enjoy the video. The first ever B&M invert to open to the public was Batman the Ride at Six Flags Great America. Now, you might see it today as just another clone, but this ride, when it first opened, changed the coaster industry. I mean, this was the original B&M invert. It sparked 18 brand new custom inverts and 10 other Batman clones. This ride truly changed the coaster industry, and that's really all I gotta say. It is a clone. This was the start of the Batman clone. We got a lot of coasters to talk about, so let's get to the next coaster. The second ever B&M invert to open to the public was Flight Deck at California's Great America, formerly known as Top Gun when the park was owned by Paramount. This ride has gone through a bit of history with the retheme and the repaint, but other than that, it was the first custom B&M invert, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a pretty short layout, only a few inversions, but without enough talking, let's get to the third B&M invert. The third invert to open to the public opened the same year as Flight Deck, and this is Batman the Ride at Six Flags Great Adventure. There is really nothing different from the one at Great America. Literally, it's the same color scheme, same layout, and it opened about a year difference. So yeah, there's not really much to say other than it's just a Batman clone. And you will be seeing a lot more Batman clones. So, let's get to the next jam-packed year with 1994. The fourth B&M invert to open to the public was Nemesis at Alton Towers. This is known for being one of the best B&M inverts with its insane terrain and layout. The positive G's pulled on this coaster is just absolutely insane. The nature setting is just perfect. It is a bit short, but it's just one of the best inverts. Unfortunately, for most of us enthusiasts in the United States, it's all the way in Europe. But yeah, and this was also the first ever international inverted coaster. So let's get to the next invert. The fifth invert to open to the public was Batman the Ride at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Yes, this is the third Batman clone, and yes, it did open a week after Nemesis. Now, the thing is, this is one of the best Batman clones. That goes for it, but, I mean, besides that, it is just another Batman clone, which we will be seeing a lot of these. So, let's get to the next coaster. The sixth invert to open to the public was Raptor at Cedar Point. Known for being one of the best inverts in the world, just like Nemesis, it opened to great acclaim and is one of the best coasters still at Cedar Point. So this was the first invert with a turnaround element, like a cobra roll or a batwing. This coaster has a cobra roll. This ride has the most inversions on an invert at the time with 7, and it really was the first ever full-scale B&M invert. It was the first one that had a long length, a great layout, 7 inversions, and a turnaround element. So this is one of the most important inverts, but let's get to the last coaster of the year. The last invert to open in 1994 was again another Batman clone, but this time it was the first Batman clone to open in Asia. This was Diablo. There's nothing really special with it. There's barely any theming. I guess the landscape is pretty cool. But again, it is just another Batman clone. There's nothing special to it. So, let's just get to the next coaster. Or, now, the next year. The 8th invert to open to the public was the Batman clone at Six Flags St. Louis. There's nothing really special with this ride, but one key thing. This was the first B&M invert clone, or the Batman clone, that had a mirrored layout. So yeah, that's kind of special. So it was a bit different from the other Batman clones, but other than that, there wasn't really anything special. Doesn't run really fast or anything. It's pretty smooth. Need to repaint, but other than that, that's pretty much it for Batman the Ride at Six Flags St. Louis. The 9th B&M invert definitely has the most history. This is Gambit at Thrill Valley in Japan. This ride opened in 1995, and if you see here, this actually is not footage of Gambit because there isn't footage I could have gotten for this video, so you guys just have to deal with this footage. So, yeah, so Gambit was there until 2002, so yeah, it shut down, it was black, and that's really about it. It was a mirrored B&M invert layout, so yeah, let's just get to the next coaster, or actually the next year. One of the top 3 B&M inverts in the world, and also being the best B&M invert in the country, including my personal favorite in the country, is Montu. This is one of the best B&M inverts just in the world, and how much more do I have to say? Like, this thing is just absolutely insane with its positive G's. This was the first invert to have the Batwing element, which again pulls some insane positive G's. And I don't know what else there is to say other than this ride is absolutely insane and probably saved Busch Gardens. So, yeah, let's get to the next coaster in the year 1996. The 11th invert to open to the public was Arashi at Expo Land in Japan. This ride is not in operation anymore at this current location. And a fun fact, this ride is actually a clone of Raptor at Cedar Point, funny enough. And yeah, there's nothing really much to it because it is just a clone. And currently, this is the only major inverted coaster that has been cloned. So yeah, this ride is currently not in operation anymore. The ride shut down in 2007 when the park shut down, unfortunately, but let's get to the next year. This next year is 1997. It was jam-packed with amazing coasters, so let's get to that. Great White at SeaWorld San Antonio was a pretty important roller coaster. First, this was the starting point of SeaWorld adding thrill coasters to their parks. Without this coaster, there wouldn't be rides like Kraken or Manta or Mako or Steel Eel. So yeah, this ride was kind of important. But anyways, this was the first invert of the year And honestly, this was probably the best year for B&M inverts, 1997, because we got some insane coasters here. And yeah, this is just also a normal Batman clone, but this one is pretty good. It runs pretty fast, and this is again just a Batman clone that isn't in the Six Flags chain. So yeah, let's get to the next coaster. The next coaster is an absolute monster B&M invert, Alpengeist. This is the tallest invert at 197 feet. For an example, that's the height of Sky Rush. This thing is huge. Like, it's absolutely insane. Anything else about the ride? Oh yeah, it's hella intense. Like, this thing pulls so many positive G's. So yeah, this ride is pretty good. And anything other special? I mean, the lift hill is pretty cool. It was built in a certain way, so it looks like a ski lift, which is pretty cool. You know, as a snowboarder, like, that's pretty sick to see. So yeah, let's get to the next coaster, which is the next coaster to open was Batman the Ride at Six Flags over Georgia. Now, this is, again, just a normal Batman clone with the blue color scheme, but there's something actually special about this one. This one is the best Batman clone. From what I've heard, the pacing on this thing is just insane compared to all the other Batman clones. I don't know why, but this Batman clone seems like it's on crack most of the time compared to all the other ones. So yeah. But other than that, it is just a Batman clone. So yeah. Anyways, let's get to the next coaster. The last invert of 1997 was widely renowned as the best B&M invert to date. This is Pyrenees at Parque España in Japan. Wow, was this an intense and crazy ride. Yeah, this is one of the best B&M inverts, and sadly, it's all the way in a random park in Japan, but still is one of the best inverts in the world. So yeah, this was the last invert to open in 1997, and truly to this day, I don't think another invert is better than Pyrenees. So yeah. Anyways, let's get to the next year. The only invert to open in 1998 was Great Bear. This ride is super underrated and also very unique, with its only 4 inversions in 2,000 something feet of track. I mean, this ride has all of its elements just crammed into random places, and it's actually pretty sick. But yeah, that's really it for Great Bear, besides it's underrated. And yeah, that's actually it for 1998. So, let's get into the top heavy lineup of 1999. The first coaster to open in 1999 was Afterburn, formerly known as Top Gun, the jet coaster, when the park was owned by Paramount. Wow, is this an insane rapid fire invert? If I had to compare this to any other invert, I'd probably say it's closest to Montu. Still one of the best inverts out there. Honestly, is still probably top 5. But yeah, that's with this insane layout going over the trees, how could you not ride this when you go to Carowinds? Anyways, let's get to the next coaster. The next coaster is sadly a Batman clone, and sadly it is one of the worst. This is Batman the Ride at Six Flags over Texas. For some reason, the pacing on this ride is just not as good as all the others for some random reason. Maybe it's the wheels? I don't know. But anyways, yeah, this is just another Batman clone. Nothing special. Paint job is the same as the one at Great Adventure. Slower than the one at Great Adventure. And it's just all around just pretty But anyways, I don't want to trash it too much because it's still a really good ride. But anyways, let's get to the next coaster. Yes, Dueling Dragons. True legendary coaster that I sorely miss to this day. Oh man, where do I even begin? The layout. Oh my gosh, the layout was insane. Especially with the blue track just, cruising next to you. Like, it's absolutely insane. Positive G's were pretty good. And honestly, like, this airtime hill, like, so much airtime. Well, not like insane, but it was like pretty good floater. And this inversion was absolutely insane. But yeah, that's sad that this is the first ever defunct B&M invert, and also the first defunct B&M ever. So yeah, that's pretty sad. This ride has a pretty good history. It opened with Islands of Adventure on the 25th of May, 1999. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Dueling Dragons. Or not for this side. Well, yes, for this side. So let's go to the other side. Me personally, the worst side of Dueling Dragons, not saying it was like bad at all, but the ice side of Dueling Dragons was pretty good. Like, not as good as the red side, but it was still really good. Zero G was pretty whippy, so was the Cobra Roll. The layout wasn't as good, but it was still better. It was in one of the better halves of the B&M inverts still. And yes, this one also did go defunct. I wish one of these would have been relocated, maybe to like that rumor when it was gonna go to Valley Fair or something along those lines back then. But yeah, dueling stopped in 2012, and yeah, it's just really unfortunate it closed. But that was it for the 1990s. So that was it for the 1990s. It was a really good decade, full of amazing B&Ms, lots of Batman clones, and I mean, there's still a lot more B&M inverts coming up, but yeah, just to say that was the end of the 1990s. Great decade, had the best B&M inverts in it, and yeah. We saw some ones go defunct, like Dragon Challenge. But yeah, that's really about it for the 1990s. So let's get to the 2000s and 2010s. Just the 21st century. The first invert to open in the new century was Katoon at Mirabilandia. This is in that top 3 B&M inverts in the world. And, well, it is definitely the best invert in Europe. Alright, it is. And honestly, it's just amazing. The positive G's are insane. And, yeah, there's just nothing wrong with this ride. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for Katoon. It's a large B&M invert. If I had to compare it to anything, mix like Raptor and Pyrenees. That's probably my best way to describe it. Anyways, that's the only coaster in the year 2000 that opened up here. That's a B&M invert. So anyways, let's get to the next year. The only invert to open in the year 2001 was Talon, the Grip of Fear at Dorney Park. This is a pretty solid B&M invert, pulls some pretty good positive G's. It isn't as good as Great Bear, but I mean, it's still pretty decent. It has only like 4 inversions. The terrain is really good, and especially that last turn after the final corkscrew is pretty good. But other than that, it's just a basic B&M invert. And yeah, I mean, there's this steep drop right here. That's yeah, that's pretty much it. But I do have to say that final turn right after this corkscrew. Yeah, like right here. So good. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Talon. Let's get to the next year in 2002. The first invert to open in the year 2002 was Batman LaFudja, or Batman the Escape, now known as Batman Arkham Asylum. This is again just another Batman clone, except this one has had a bit of a history with some VR and running backwards, stuff like that. It's not really that special, and I heard it has a bit of a rattle. So yeah, this is probably one of the weakest Batman clones, but I mean, this has really good theming, but yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. And also, this one is in Spain, so yeah, whatever. It did open with the park, so yeah, that's really about it. So let's get to the next coaster. The last invert of this year was Vampire at La Ronde. This was the first invert in Canada, and honestly, it's okay. It's one of the mirrored layouts, but there is something very good about this coaster. It's the last Batman clone, so I don't have to talk about them anymore. That's besides the point. But anyway, yeah. So Love Vampire, it is one of the slower inverts, but it is one of the mirrored ones. So I mean, whatever. But yeah, that's really about it. So I guess let's get to 2003. The first invert that opened in 2003 was Nemesis Inferno at Thope Park. This is a pretty B&M invert. It barely has any inversions. It's less than 100 feet tall. But at least its terrain is pretty good. And I also like the color scheme. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Nemesis Inferno. I mean, yeah, it opened in 2003, and yeah, nothing really much with it. Yeah. And that's, yeah, Dimension was pretty short. But yeah, besides that, it's really just the smallest invert on the whole entire list. But let's get to the next coaster, which has a pretty fascinating history. So let's get to that. Previously, in the 1995 section of the video, we mentioned about Gambit at Thrill Valley and how it got relocated. Well, this was the park it was relocated to, Six Flags New Orleans. Now you know that obviously this park is now closed forever, even though RCDB says it's SBNO. Well, anyways, this ride was even relocated from here, but we'll get back to that later on when it comes back up. Anyways, it got relocated here, got a fresh repaint, and yeah, that's pretty much it for any new modifications. But after Hurricane Katrina hit, the ride got flooded a bit on the ground. The queue line was absolutely ruined, but the coaster actually stayed intact. And well, they replaced a few supports, and it was actually able to operate again, but at a different park. This is probably one of the craziest stories for a coaster ever, and especially for one with the thrills of this. Anyways, let's get back to the normal coaster. This ride is, again, a Batman clone, but it is the mirrored layout. And honestly, after they relocated it a few times, it's starting to get slower, and it's not as fast. But here it looks like it's going pretty fast. But anyways, yeah, this was the first B&M invert that was relocated. So that's pretty sad that the park got hit by Hurricane Katrina. But anyways, let's get to the next year, which is Opening late 2004 was Silver Bullet at Knott's Berry Farm. Just like Great Bear, I don't even know how they fit this in here. I mean, you can definitely tell by the drop and the Cobra roll, but anyway, this coaster's like kind of forceless, but it is extremely smooth. I gotta say that. But anyways, yeah, great addition to Knott's. They really needed a multi-looper like this. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Silver Bullet. It's probably the most popular ride in the park except for Ghost Rider. So yeah, let's get to the next coaster. The long-lost B&M Invert in Kuwait, Lightning, has had an unfortunate history. The ride first opened in 2004, then the park shut down in 2016, then the ride went SBNO, then when they decided to get rid of the ride and relocate it, they have now lost the pieces. So now, Lightning is now officially defunct. This was a Batman clone, not mirrored, but just a normal Batman clone. And it's just really sad to see like this ride is just gone now. If you want more history of this ride, you can go check out the video by National Coasters. They have a pretty good video on it, and well, they basically just have the best video on the coaster. So if you want more in-depth review or just analysis of it, you can go see their video. But anyways, that's pretty much it for Lightning. But yeah, pretty sad. But let's get to the next year, which is the first invert to open in 2006 was Patriot at Worlds of Fun. This ride is pretty tall for an invert at 150 feet, but honestly, it's kind of like a lamer Batman clone. I still take this over a Batman clone though. But anyways, the theming, I guess a grassland, did recently get a repaint, which is pretty good. And besides that, the layout's kind of but that's basically just Patriot Worlds of Fun. It's just an invert. But let's see the really good coaster that's coming up next, which is wow, what a ride. Black Mamba at Phantasialand is one of the best B&M inverts because all I gotta say is the layout and the theming. The theming on this ride is absolutely insane. If you can even see like right here, even on the lift hill, it's insane. And just like the rock work and the waterfalls, like it's all really good. And I'd love to come out here one day and whatever. But anyways, the layout is insane. The terrain is also insane. Just like look at that, like on the Junior Immelman. There's only 4 inversions and it's pretty short and it's not even that tall either. But the way that it's in the ground is just absolutely insane. This ride is just crazy. I love this ride. I so want to ride it. But anyways, that's really it besides all of that. So let's get to the next year. Besides Lightning in Kuwait, this is probably the most forgotten B&M invert. Definitely the most forgotten major B&M invert. Anyways, this layout is absolutely insane. These elements look like they pack so many positive G's. But sadly, like no one has ridden it because it's all the way in South Korea. Sadly. But I mean, it still looks really good. And, we don't know if it's smooth. It looks smooth. It looks just like Silver Bullet. And it was made in 2007. So I don't know. We'll see how it rides later on as some more people get to go out there. Maybe I'll go out there. I don't know. But anyways, the landscaping's insane. The layout's so good. But yeah, that's really it for the most forgotten major B&M invert. Parthenon at, or Python at, I can't even pronounce the park's name. Yeah, that's pretty much it for 2007. Ah, yes, Goliath, or Batman the Ride, or Gambit has finally made it for the third time on this list. Yep, this is where Goliath, or Batman the Ride, or Gambit is today. We've seen Gambit start in 95 in Japan, then we started in 03 in New Orleans, and then when New Orleans shut down, they shipped it here to San Antonio, Texas as Goliath. Well, it is definitely way slower, and it has a bit of a rattle, and, well, it's just, they should have probably just scrapped it, honestly, or sent it to the Great Escape. This ride was definitely not needed at Fiesta, Texas, but that doesn't really matter. It's just, whatever. But anyway, that's pretty much it for Goliath. And, yeah, this was definitely the B&M Invert that has traveled the most. Orshi from Expoland has finally made the list again. Like I said, this was the clone of Raptor at Cedar Point and is now relocated from Expoland in Japan to now at a random park in the middle of France. This park is also known for having a Vekoma Hurricane coaster, just like Jester at Six Flags New Orleans. But that doesn't really matter. This park doesn't really matter anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just Raptor, a clone of Raptor, and also is relocated from Japan. Definitely needs a repaint. But yeah, that's besides that. It's still a really good invert. Just hopefully it's not rough and they take good care of it. But anyways, that's really it. If you guys notice, a lot of these coasters, like, it's starting to just be relocated coasters and stuff. Until now, these next coasters are not going to be relocated, but they're going to be really good coasters. So let's start with the year 2000 and the first new B&M invert since Parthenon in 2007 is Osiris at Parc Asterix in France. Some people say this is one of the best B&M inverts. I think it looks pretty good towards intensity and theming. Honestly, for me, it looks like Black Mamba, just a bit on crack. Like, it looks pretty sick, actually. But yeah, this was a custom B&M invert, and also this was the first ever invert to have no pre-drop. So yeah, that goes for it. Yeah, this seems like a pretty good B&M invert. And yeah, this is one of the last inverts still with over the shoulder restraints. We'll see that change with the next coaster. Yeah, that's Osiris at Parc Asterix. Banshee at Kings Island was the most modern B&M invert at a full scale. This was the first invert with the vest restraints, and this is kind of like a modern Pyrenees in a way, with its big elements. But anyways, you can tell this ride is very different from the other inverts. Well, not really Osiris, but more than Osiris, with the pretzel knot, the heartline roll, and the second loop. This ride definitely has some mixed fans. People saying it sucks. Some people saying it's one of the best inverts. I'll see this summer. But anyways, that's pretty much it for Banshee. It's taken all the pointers over the years. It is all in this coaster. It is probably the most well-rounded inverts. Well, that's it for Banshee. The final invert that has opened is Monster at Groneland in Sweden. This ride is very compact and has some really tight elements. But for this coaster, B&M went back with the normal over-the-shoulder restraints for some random reason, I don't know why. Anyways, this ride has a great setting and a crazy layout, going over insane and going over some pathways. Like, I seriously don't know how they fit this ride in. Like, it's absolutely insane. And the elements are super whippy. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for Monster. So, let's cut to the next clip. Alright guys, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. And if you can see here, we're using the same video we used in the beginning. Right here. Yeah, so that was a very long video and a very long journey. I mean, I was expecting this to be like maybe like a 15-minute video, but it ended up being like 40 minutes long or something. But anyways, that was the history, or just a look back of the B&M inverts from 1992 to present day. We saw lots of innovation from the old Batman clones. We saw relocations. We saw rides get bigger. If I would have to say, the height of these inverts was around 1999, I would say that would be the height. Because after 99, we only saw like 1 or 2 coasters a year. And yeah, so the rides we saw relocated was Gambit, which turned into Batman the Ride, and then Goliath. We saw Orochi turn into Monster in France. And Lightning is just gone. And so is sadly Dueling Dragons. Ah, shoot, my phone just went off. But yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys loved this video and this adventurous. I'm still not done editing. It's about to be hell editing this. But anyways, that's it for me, guys. So please leave a like on this video. This took me forever. So, everybody, have a good day, and whatever you do, don't staple yourself. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Bye.